In today's video, we're going to talk about why women over 40 feel invisible at work and what God has to say about it. Now, feeling unseen doesn't mean that God is absent. You're not starting over, you're writing a new chapter. Now, if you're a woman over 40 and you feel like your experience suddenly stopped mattering, like showing up, you're doing good work, but somehow being overlooked. This video is for you. Now, maybe you're not angry, just quietly discouraged, and you can't quite put your finger on it. Well, I want you to know that you're not imagining this. It is a real thing, and you are not alone. Now, I hear this over and over from women who are capable, faithful, experienced, and yet they feel invisible in today's job market. Now, you doing everything you were told to do, you work hard, you stayed loyal, you showed up. And now it feels like the rules have changed without warning, and nobody is saying anything to you. So, so today we're going to talk about why this happens and what God says when you feel unseen. Now, there was a season in my own career where I felt exactly like this. I mean, I was doing everything. I had given years and years and years to this particular company, and all of a sudden, you're invisible. I wasn't failing. I wasn't being chosen either. And really, when you're not being selected, that's really a hard place to be because you have helped to build this particular company. You put your years in, and I remember asking God, God, do you really see this? Do you see what's going on here? And that question led me to a story in the Bible. We're going to look at Genesis chapter 16, verse 13, and we're going to talk about Hagar. We're going to look at Genesis chapter 16, verse 13. I'm going to read it in the NIV version of the Bible. Genesis chapter 16, and it's verse 13. And I'm going to read it from the King James and the NIV. It says, "Then she called the name of the Lord who spoke to her. You are the God who sees. For she said, have I also here seen him who sees me?" And in the NIV, it says, she gave this name to the Lord who spoke to her. You are the God who sees me. For she said, I have now seen the one who sees me. So yes, God absolutely sees you. Hagar she was unseen, unheard, overlooked. Uh, Sarah wasn't treating her nice, and she wasn't even the main character, but she wasn't celebrated either. And yet she gives God a name that no one else had before. You are the God who sees me. And what's so powerful about it is that he saw her situation even before she did, just like he sees your situation even before you're in the place that you're in now. Now, feeling invisible at work, it doesn't mean that you're insignificant. It often means, and this is where we're getting to today, that the environment you're in no longer knows how to value what you bring to the table. And that's not a personal failure. It's really a positional one. We have to understand that we are not failing personally, but you're going to take it personally because all of a sudden people they're bringing in younger people, they're replacing this and that. And you see all of these things going on around you and you really don't know how to handle it. You've prayed, you ask God, well, what am I doing wrong? That's not the point. You have to understand that God sees what this situation is, and it's time to turn the page. It's time to get to that next chapter. It's a positioning problem, not a problem of whether you're skilled enough or whether you're just not flourishing in that environment. And how do you know that? I can tell you how you know, because this is how I know. If it gets to be a chore to get up for work, if it gets to be you're driving in and you're dreading everything that's going on around you, that's when you know it's time for a change. And God is leading and guiding and directing, but we have to sit still long enough to listen. I kind of liken it as when you give kids a lot of sugar and they don't, all of a sudden they can't hear nothing you say. You just it's telling them to stop, be quiet, do this, and they're just running around and it doesn't wear off until the sugar wears off. Sometimes that's how we treat God when we're asking him these questions about what's wrong, what's going on. We're not sitting still long enough to listen. But then when we get into a certain point, we do sit down and listen, and God is just encouraging us to move to that next season in our life, our next chapter. Now, experience needs translation and not diminishing. You need to transfer your experiences. And now, when I talk about transferring that experience, I just mean you need to take what you have and add it to what you already are going into. Now, I'm not saying you have to start a new company or your own business or anything like that, but you need to hear from God. Where am I supposed to be right now? God often, He often prepares us in those hidden seasons and we're not even paying attention. Things are going on around us until all of a sudden it's going to smack us in the face. And then we're going to say, oh no, I need to get out of here. This is not working anymore. I don't like it here anymore. So here's what I want you to do this week. Instead of asking, what's wrong with me? Ask, what season am I actually in? Now, if this resonates with you, I created a free guide called Faith Driven Career Clarity for women over 40. And this will help you process where you are and what you want to do next and how faith fits into your career decisions because it fits in there. And the link is below. Now, remember, you're not starting over, you're writing your next chapter. And in order to turn the page, you have to know where you're going. So that's what the guide will help you kind of walk you where you are. Because if we don't know where we're going, we're just going to sit in one spot and probably just shut down and not value ourselves. You need to value you and what you have on the inside. You might have a book, you might have something. God is showing you what you need to do, but a lot of times we're not sure when we want to step out. We want to have that clarity, and that's what the guide is all about. It's about walking you through some steps. It's not difficult. It's just several pages, but it's walking you through the season that you need to be in. Because God doesn't want us to be wandering or wandering in the wilderness. He will show you. He always used to say to me in praise and worship, I'm sending you out. This is not your final destination. And I would hear that during praise and worship or sometimes in my prayer. And I'm thinking, okay, God, I'm willing, I'm willing. But then when it came time to step out and walk away, that was a whole nother story. But I was definitely sure of where I was going, but I wasn't sure of the outcome. And that's the reason why a lot of times we don't do some things because we want to know the outcome. We're mature enough to know, listen, I want to know what's going to happen when I do this. And God doesn't always give us that. We can kind of already look back on some things that we were moving into, even school or whatever family, and you say, "Well, I want to know what's going to happen before I even do this." But this doesn't work like that. We're on a journey. We're walking through our chapters, and this is your next season for your next chapter. Now, remember, you're not starting over. You're not starting over. And next week, we're going to be talking about why starting over at 40 plus doesn't mean you're starting from zero. So thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to download that guide. It's a free guide. And I'll see you in the next video and you have a great one.